This is Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living. Now, let's join Jeff already in the studio.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and this is Empowered Living. Now, today, I want to take a step back and share with you a very powerful personal story that happened to me just within the last week. Now, this one is very spiritual in nature. I quote some scripture in it, and I share some very personal things in it. So if that's not your thing, I just want to give a disclaimer up front that that's what we're going to be talking about today. I don't always do that, but that's going to be a topic today because it was very powerful to me, this experience. So I just want to let you know. So if that's not you, you can skip this one if you like. But I hope you'll stay tuned because this was very powerful. And what happened is last week I woke up in the middle of the night after having a dream, and this dream left me with this deep, incredibly deep sense of longing for an experience that I had back in 1983. I was 15 years old, and I was able to talk the faculty at the school I was going to, a little small private school. I was able to talk them into letting me out of school for 3 weeks in the spring, just before the end of the year, to go on a bird watching trip out to Texas. And I had taken a bird watching elective the year before in 8th grade, and I had gotten hooked on it. And this trip, I was incredibly excited, just out of my mind. I wasn't fitting in anywhere very well at the time. I wasn't fitting in particularly well with family, with the school, with church, with friends, just really kind of not in a good space. But what happened is I was able to get on this trip, and I took some paper routes and raised some money, and my parents helped me out some. And this group was being led by a man named Bob A. And he was the chairman of the chemistry department at the local college, and he had come over to our high school and done some trainings and slideshows on birds. I had started following him around and going on some different trips that he led locally. And then he was doing this massive 3-week trip to Texas, flying into Houston, working down the Gulf Coast, down to the Rio Grande, following the Rio Grande up to San Antonio, and then driving out west to Big Bend National Park. And this one particular day that I dreamed about was in Big Bend. And when we had gone there in May of 1983, we were staying out of the park because the park was very expensive. So we were staying in this little former ghost town, old abandoned mining town. We were driving in the morning, and then we were doing our bird watching during the day. But this was going to be a very full day. So we got to the parking area very early in the morning, and all piled out of the van in the pre-dawn time frame. And there were 2 different routes up this mountain that we were going up, and I was out of shape back then, wasn't in very good shape at all. My family, we didn't really do a lot of health-oriented stuff as far as diet and exercise. You know, for us, ice cream was like a replacement meal. The only problem is we didn't replace the other meal either. We just had the meal and we had a meal of ice cream. So, you know, it's that doesn't work. I don't recommend that. But that's kind of where I was at the time. So Bob, the leader of the group, who I deeply, deeply respect, he was like my hero at the time. I didn't have many other heroes then. But he was just so smart. He was traveled all over the globe. He had seen like every bird around, and he was very confident and adventurous. And so he decided that since I wasn't in good enough shape to go up the much steeper Pinnacle Pass, that he would go with me, and we would go up a trail called Laguna Meadows. And I have some vague memories of that. Again, it's been a long time ago, but I remember some of the birds I saw just like I'd seen them yesterday morning, and some of the scenery. It was just amazing. And as when he and I walked, he was sharing some life lessons and some wisdom with me that I use to this day. And I even teach some of the same things that he told me that morning. I remember that very, very specifically. And what we did is we hiked on up, and then we met up with the trail that the other people had come up, and we went up to a day use area. We had seen a whole lot of new birds, most of the birds that we went up there for, but one of the birds that we really wanted to see was an owl. Of course, they come out at night, most of them. And this one was called a flammulated owl. So we stayed all day up at this day use area waiting for it to get dark. And once it was dark, we heard the owl calling across the canyon. Well, of course, we couldn't get across the canyon, so we had a recording of owl's call, and we played that call, and the owl heard it, and he flew into where we were. We had already identified the branch he was most likely to perch on. And he came and flew right in, and we all got good looks at him, and we got to see this owl that very, very few people see. So what we did after that in the dark was we started hiking back down the other trail, the Pinnacle Pass Trail, which was the much steeper trail. And that was an unbelievable experience for me. We're walking in the dark under this starry field in the sky and looking out way across the desert, the Chihuahuan Desert into Mexico, and seeing these little lights out across the desert. There were little villages or houses, and it was sparse because it's the desert. Not that many people lived there, but so I got to see that. And then we went through the pinnacles, which are these big spires of rock just jutting up out of the mountain, and the trail weaves through them. And we were winding our way just through that. Bob didn't like using flashlights, so we had cut the flashlights off until our eyes adjusted. We're winding our way through there, and there's bats flying through the pass. And one of the most adventurous, unreal experiences that I've ever had. It was really just made an impression. And so we finally made our way back down through these paths, like these. They were like these. It was just everything's different at night. You know, you probably know what I mean if you've been out around at night. And it was like these huge ancient monoliths, some kind of commemoration to some forgotten memory out of an ancient age, and it was unbelievable. It was a completely different experience than anything I had ever experienced in my life. Everything I knew was just felt small. Felt like I lived in Smallville, small thinking, small acting, just small things, small belief system, just small. But this was what it was for me is because at the time, like I say, I was depressed. I was very much a loner. I wasn't fitting in anywhere, and getting on that plane and flying out there gave me this sense. It was a sense of freedom, a sense of excitement, of exhilaration, of complete expectation, of all that was going to happen ahead of time. And it was this amazing experience. And when I woke up from this dream, I almost woke up in tears. Often I'll wake up laughing. Sometimes I'll wake my wife up with my laughter. Occasionally there'll be something so heartfelt, so profound that I'll almost wake up in tears. It feels so real. And the longing for that day. In the dream, I was back there again in Big Bend, and I was trying to find that pathway up Laguna Meadows Trail. I was trying to find the way, and I got stuck in a gift shop with some people. I just couldn't seem to quite get my bearings straight to get back up there, but I was longing for it so intensely. And so I woke up from that, and I went on downstairs, as I often do very early in the morning. So I'm going to sit down and think about this for a while. Why was this so meaningful? What was it about that day? Because, a lot of those birders, they really appreciated me at the time. It was nice to have this group of older birders that appreciated it. I felt like, wow, finally somebody appreciates me for something. Didn't feel very appreciated at the time at all. So I had that, and I thought, well, what was it that I loved so much about that day? A lot of those people I'm not in touch with. I don't even know. Some of them may not even still be around. But I thought the day itself, if I were to go back there and re-experience that day, it would have seemed just like it did at the time. Why is it so meaningful to me now? And what I realized is this was a touch of something bigger, of something deeper, right, than just that experience. It symbolized something. It pictured a deeper reality. And what I realized is that this was like a touch of heaven. This was like a touch of heaven. And I thought, well, what's heaven going to be like? Now we have so many crazy ideas of heaven that it doesn't surprise me that people don't think that much about it and really aren't that interested, because a lot of the ideas we have just seem boring to me beyond belief. Just like some endless church service, it's like, oh, good heavens, let me just stab myself in the eye with a hot poker or something, It's, or just singing hymn after hymn after hymn after hymn after hymn, or floating around on a cloud playing strumming a little gold harp or something. I thought I just can't even imagine. It sounds a lot more like hell to me than that does heaven. But I thought, what does heaven feel like? What does it feel like? And what I thought is that little trip there, that day up at Big Bend, hiking up to Boot Springs, that feels like what I think heaven is going to feel like. To get on that plane and to leave that place that I was just burdened and disconnected and had all these problems and depressed, and to, boom, the next day, or actually it was that afternoon, and then a couple of weeks later to get to Big Bend. But all along, it was this sense of excitement. It's like, oh my gosh, There's just joy, just everything's just amazing. It's so beautiful. It's incredible, and I'm excited, and I'm enthused, and I have all this expectation. I have this tremendous confidence in Bob Ake. As the leader, I didn't have to worry about a thing. I knew he had it. I knew he had it down. I knew that this was just going to be amazing. I was seeing new birds all over the place. Everything that flew by, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's that? What's that? It's just so excited. And I thought, wow, that memory feels like what I think heaven's going to feel. And that was going from, a life that was depressed and tedious and disconnected, boring, going to a place of wonder, of beauty, excitement, and adventure. And a sense of security and safety, because I just trusted Bob and I knew he had it together. And it just occurs to me that was probably that longing and that vision of that dream for that experience that's about the closest thing to death that a person can experience in this life.
Jeff will be back shortly to wrap up today's message. This is Gabriela, still on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. If you've missed any part of today's message, you can hear it again online, as well as the entire archive of Empowered Living at www.talknetworkradio.com or search keyword #Empowered Living. We would like to acknowledge our music partners, Sound Ideas for Corporate to the Max and Kevin MacLeod for Airport Lounge. Any scriptures read during this broadcast are from the New American Standard Version of the Holy Bible. If you would like to learn more about Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, visit www.jeffbyrdcoaching.com. That is JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Do a Facebook search for @CoachingRocks or drop Jeff a line at jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com. Again, JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Let Jeff's Coaching Rocks be the building blocks of your empowered success. Now, let's go back to Jeff for the rest of today's message.
It wasn't the end of anything. It was the end of this tedious, depressed life that I had, jumping on that plane and getting to the most amazing experience that I could have. And that adventure, that leaving that place of sorrow and getting to that place of adventure, that reminds me of how heaven is described in a lot of ways. Getting away from the heartache, the lost things, people that we've loved and lost, this place of sorrow, and entering into a day of perfect love, no worries ever, complete confidence in that there's no bad ever going to befall us because God's on our side and He's the one that's unfolded all this wonder and excitement and endless adventure, right? Where every day is the most amazing day you could imagine. It's just the most exciting. It's just the most amazing. It's just the best people. You're just connected. There's no misunderstandings. There's no pain. There's none of that. And then all you have to look forward to, you never lose it. You never lose the memory. You always have that. And then the next day just adds to it. It's the most amazing day you could ever imagine. Just on and on and on through eternity of consecutive days of beauty and wonder and depth of meaning and every experience with every living thing. That's the promise. That's the promise. And I think, this is my belief, having had that dream, that everything that has touched the depths of our hearts and souls here is just a tiny little touch, beckoning us forward to the day in which all the fullness lies. All of our greatest moments and greatest connections and most exciting adventures and best memories here are little touches, just little glimpses of what the eternal fullness is going to bring. Now, it reminded me, Jesus said in John 16, therefore, you too have grief now. He's talking to the people that were following him at the time. Therefore, you too will have grief now, but I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy from you. Down here, there's so many things that get in the way of our joy so often, sidetrack it and get us all tripped up, and we think everything's going well, and then we encounter some difficult